Hi everybody, welcome back to 4-H on Jekyll Island. I'm Corinne, the Program Specialist at Tidelands Nature Center. Today we're going to be talking about some different feeding strategies throughout the marine food chain. We're going to be exploring a lot of different animals and seeing how they eat. We'll be jumping back and forth from the Tidelands Nature Center here and Camp Jekyll over on the other side of the island to showcase some of our really neat animals. Let's go. So as we're talking about food chains today, all of the energy in our food chain starts with the sun. So in a marine food web, they can have a couple of different starting points, but the one we're going to focus on today is with plankton. Plankton can come in different varieties, including animal-like and plant-like plankton. These are very, very small organisms, and lots of different animals will eat these. One of the big ones that we'll talk about today is our filter feeders, our oysters, which are really, really important to our ecosystems, but they're definitely going to be eating a lot of the plankton that's floating in our waterways. Another potential predator or eater of these plankton is a fish. So we obviously have lots of different kinds of fish, lots of different sizes, and they actually have different feeding styles as well. Now as those fish get older and get bigger, they also have some predators. The one we're going to focus on today is our sea turtle, the loggerhead sea turtle. Definitely going to be eating a lot of those fish or shrimp or other things they can find. As these animals will eat, they might drop some scraps down lower in the water. So some of the animals we're going to look at that might eat some of the things that are floating around or dropping to the bottom are sea cucumbers, crabs, and sea anemones, and kind of taking a look at how they will eat as well. Let's check them out. Let's start at the base of our food chain with our plankton. Now you can see there's a lot of stuff on this screen, but do you notice the really small things that are moving around? Those are our animal-like plankton. How many can you find? They come in a range of sizes, and it's actually really neat that a few of these plankton can actually change over time to become other animals, such as crabs or shrimp or oysters. And these are typically just drifting animals, but you might get some really small fish this way too, like this little fella. While zooplankton, like these animal-like plankton we've seen moving around, are very important, oysters are also really going to love some plant-like plankton. You can see in this video from the marine extension how well these oysters filter out algae in the water. They love to eat all that really small planktonic organisms floating in the water. Thanks, Marine Extension. Those oysters can create some really great habitat for fish and other animals, such as our stingray. This stingray is loving the shrimp we're giving him. He'll actually eat right underneath him. His mouth is on the bottom. And the way he can find a lot of the animals he actually wants to eat is by using a sixth sense he has from his ampullae of Lorenzini, a really cool adaptation on these stingrays to help them feel electrical currents where animals might be hiding in the sand beneath them. Not all animals have that cool trick though. Our burrfish here is a little different. He won't be feeding along the bottom like this stingray. He'll be moving up and down in the water column, but he loves to munch on things like fiddler crabs. These burrfish have a beak on the inside of their mouth, and that helps them to crunch into these tough shells of fiddler crabs. You'll notice this other fish try to grab the fiddler crab, but doesn't have as much luck getting through that tough shell. So some fish can be very specialized in what they like to eat, or how they want to eat. We'll see in this next clip a feeding frenzy from many of the fish that we can find in the Tidelands pond. These fish are hunters. They'll chase down their prey, such as smaller fish or shrimp. As they swim through the water column, some may stick towards the bottom. They prefer to eat down low, compared to our red drum who will chase everybody down. That larger fish there is really great at catching his food. While these fish might be swimming around and grabbing their own food, something a bit larger might be looking for them as well, such as our sea turtle. This is Nugget, our youngest loggerhead sea turtle at the 4-H centers on Jekyll. and he's going to show off his skills at diving. When sea turtles are little, they do tend to float at the surface a lot, but as they get older especially, they'll dive down to the bottom to look for their food. Older sea turtles really love to eat things like blue crabs or whelks that are going to be hanging out down on the bottom. Nugget is enjoying some pieces of shrimp and some pieces of gel. Gel is something we make in-house for our sea turtles. That includes fish, shrimp, squid, broccoli, carrots, and lots of vitamins to make sure they grow up big and strong and are healthy by the time we are ready to release them. Now, one thing you may have noticed is that these fish or our sea turtles might drop some scraps or leave some bits on the bottom, and that's where our bottom organisms, such as this anemone, come to be important. Anemones are active suspension feeders. They'll grab their food with those tentacles. But some bottom dwellers, like crabs, are going to be crawling around looking for food. Here is a speckled crab as he grabs a piece of shrimp. Normally, this speckled crab would find a larger thing to eat in the ocean floor, maybe a dead fish, and use those strong claws to tear off pieces and pull them into his mouth. Another type of crab that we see out in our waterways is our horseshoe crab. These horseshoe crabs will crawl along the bottom, kind of like that speckled crab, and try to pull food into their mouth, which is actually underneath them, right in the center in this little fuzzy spot. These crabs are kind of like the vacuum cleaners of our oceans. They are scavengers and will find lots of dead things such as fish or shrimp to eat and help clean up our oceans. These horseshoe crabs have many claws to grab their food, and they're actually more closely related to spiders or scorpions than they are to crabs. So we can see there's a lot of different ways that these animals are going to be eating in our marine food chains. So thanks so much for joining us today. Let us know what your favorite animal was in the comments.